The search warrant hit my kitchen table at 8:15 that morning. 2 squad cars. 3 detectives. And Karen Whitfield's smug smile watching from across the street as they photographed my pool deck. Detective Patterson examined a stack of property documents while Karen stood on her porch, arms crossed, satisfaction radiating from every fiber of her being. "That's right. Officers," Karen called out, waving a manila folder like a victory flag. "Property line violations. Unpermitted construction. And I've got the documentation to prove every single claim." What Karen didn't know was that I'd spent 15 years as the county's senior property assessor before becoming a licensed real estate appraiser. The evidence she'd been brandishing for 3 months contained more red flags than a Soviet parade. I'd been quietly building a case that would land her in federal prison. By noon that day, Karen would be in handcuffs. Her 3-year property fraud scheme affecting 12 families would crumble like a house of cards. The fake deed she'd used to claim ownership of part of my backyard, worth $47,000, would be exposed as federal mail fraud. The HOA power she'd weaponized to terrorize our neighborhood would vanish overnight. The $250,000 judgment that followed would cost her everything she'd stolen and more. The property records she thought she'd expertly forged would become the evidence that sent her away for 18 months. Ever had a neighbor try to steal your property? Drop your story below. Some of these HOA battles get absolutely insane. Marcus Steele had moved to Maple Grove Circle 2 years ago after his divorce, seeking quiet suburban life for weekend visits with his twin daughters, Emma and Sophie. As a licensed real estate appraiser with 15 years at the county assessor's office, he'd evaluated over 12,000 properties and knew property law better than most attorneys. His recent pool installation was perfectly legal, proper permits, licensed contractors. All inspections passed with flying colors. The pool gave his girls something to look forward to during their visits and represented his fresh start after a painful custody battle that had drained his savings and tested his resolve. Maple Grove Circle epitomized suburban Colorado living, manicured lawns stretching like green carpets, 40-year-old ranch homes with character, and an HOA that maintained strict aesthetic standards. Property values averaged $400,000, and neighbors took genuine pride in their investments. The HOA met monthly in the community center, with Karen Whitfield serving her 3rd consecutive term as board president. Her authority extended to architectural approvals, landscaping violations, and property line disputes. Most residents initially respected the HOA's role in maintaining home values, but Karen's interpretations had grown increasingly aggressive over the past year. The pool represented far more than recreation for Marcus. It symbolized stability for his daughters after the divorce had disrupted their young lives. His ex-wife had questioned his ability to provide a proper home environment during brutal custody negotiations. The pool project, completed with savings from his appraisal business, proved his commitment to creating lasting memories with Emma and Sophie. When Karen began circulating complaints about unpermitted construction lowering property values, she threatened not just his investment, but his credibility as a father and professional. Karen Whitfield had lived on Maple Grove Circle for 8 years, transforming from helpful neighbor to self-appointed property guardian. Her real estate license had lapsed 5 years ago, but she continued claiming expertise in property values and zoning regulations with unwavering confidence. Neighbors initially appreciated her attention to community standards, but her methods had grown invasive and concerning. She photographed properties from public sidewalks, researched permit records obsessively, and filed formal complaints for increasingly minor violations. Her HOA presidency gave her official authority to back her perfectionist standards and control complex. 3 months after Marcus's pool was completed, Karen appeared at his front door with a manila folder and an expression that could freeze fire. The autumn morning carried a chill that matched her demeanor perfectly. "Marcus, we need to discuss your pool placement immediately. According to my research, Your deck extends 18 inches onto HOA, common property. I've documented the violation with photographs and precise measurements. She spread surveyor-looking documents across his porch table with practiced efficiency, pointing to highlighted sections with manicured nails. This original neighborhood plat from 1987 clearly shows the property boundaries. Your contractor either ignored the survey markers or deliberately built over the line. Either way, the HOA requires immediate correction. Marcus examined the documents carefully, his assessor training immediately flagging inconsistencies in the formatting and signatures that would escape most homeowners. Karen, I had the property professionally surveyed before construction began. My pool is completely within my boundaries. Your surveyor made a critical error. Karen replied coldly, her voice carrying absolute certainty. I've filed a formal complaint with the county building department. Within a week, Karen had submitted violation reports to the county building department, the HOA board, and homeowner insurance companies like artillery shells targeting Marcus's life. Her complaint alleged unpermitted construction, property line violations, and flagrant disregard for community standards that negatively impact surrounding property values by thousands of dollars. The county issued a formal investigation notice requiring Marcus to prove compliance with all zoning regulations within 30 days. The HOA threatened daily fines of $50 until the violation was corrected to their satisfaction. Karen distributed copies of her evidence to neighbors, claiming the pool would reduce everyone's home values and create liability issues for the entire community. I'm protecting our community's investment. Karen announced at the emergency HOA meeting she'd strategically called, property violations create financial liability for all homeowners. This pool must be moved or removed immediately. That evening, Marcus sat in his home office, surrounded by his own property records, permits, and professional survey documents. His years of experience had taught him to recognize forged documents and fraudulent property claims with scientific precision. Karen's evidence contained multiple red flags that most homeowners would never notice, but screamed forgery to his trained eye. Instead of confronting Karen immediately, Marcus made a strategic decision that would change everything. Emma, Sophie, he told his daughters during their weekend visit, Daddy's going to teach you about property rights and why bullies only pick on people they think can't fight back. The investigation he launched that night would expose far more than just fake documents. Marcus began his counterattack by doing what he did best, examining property records with the precision of a forensic scientist. His access to county databases, title company networks, and surveyor contacts gave him investigative tools Karen couldn't imagine existed. The first red flag appeared immediately. Karen's 1987 neighborhood plat contained survey marks and formatting that didn't exist until 1995. The signature she'd attributed to county surveyor William Hayes belonged to a man who'd retired 3 years before the document's alleged creation date. Marcus contacted his former colleague Jennifer Mills at the assessor's office during her lunch break. Jen, I need you to look at something unofficial. These property documents don't match anything in our system. Jennifer's response was immediate and alarming. Marcus, this is amateur hour forgery. The legal descriptions don't match our master files. The surveyor stamps are photocopied, and the recording numbers don't exist in our database. Where did you get these? When Marcus explained Karen's property line claim, Jennifer's tone shifted from professional curiosity to genuine concern. This isn't just harassment. Marcus, if she's presenting forged documents to government agencies, that's federal mail fraud. You need to document everything and contact law enforcement. Marcus's investigation expanded as he discovered Karen's disturbing pattern of behavior. Public records showed she'd filed similar property disputes with 4 other neighbors over the past 2 years. Each case involved boundary disputes, unpermitted construction claims, or HOA violations, and each used suspicious documentation that followed identical formatting patterns. Nancy Chen, who worked at Summit Title Company, lived 3 houses down and had been one of Karen's previous targets. Over coffee at the neighborhood Starbucks, she revealed, Karen had cost her family $8,000 in legal fees fighting a completely fabricated easement claim. She had documents showing a utility easement running through our garden, Nancy explained, her frustration still evident months later. Looked official. Had county stamps. Everything appeared legitimate. We paid a lawyer to fight it before discovering the easement never existed in any county records. When we confronted her with proof, she claimed it was an honest mistake and refused to reimburse our legal costs. Marcus realized Karen wasn't just a difficult neighbor with control issues. She was running a sophisticated property fraud scheme targeting homeowners who lacked expertise to challenge forged documents. Her victims were chosen carefully. Recent construction projects, expensive improvements, and families who could afford legal settlements rather than prolonged fights. Bob Hendricks, a retired survey technician, had lived on the street for 20 years and watched Karen's tactics escalate from helpful neighbor to something far more sinister. When Marcus shared his findings, Bob's expertise immediately confirmed the forgeries with technical precision. Son, I've seen every legitimate property document in this county over 2 decades. These are fake, and whoever made them knows enough to fool most people but not enough to fool professionals. The survey stamps alone are wrong. That equipment hasn't been used since the 1990s. The 3 neighbors, Marcus, Nancy, and Bob, formed an informal investigation team, documenting Karen's fraud pattern and building evidence for authorities. Their combined expertise in property law, title work, and surveying created a formidable alliance against Karen's schemes. Marcus's plan crystallized with military precision. Let Karen continue her false complaints while building an ironclad case against her. Each forged document she presented would become evidence of federal mail fraud. His property expertise would ensure she couldn't manipulate the investigation process or intimidate him with fake authority. When Detective Ray Patterson contacted Marcus about Karen's expanded complaints to multiple agencies, Marcus decided to reveal his professional background completely. The detective's voice carried skepticism until Marcus explained his credentials. Detective, I need to be transparent with you. I'm a licensed real estate appraiser and spent 15 years as the county's senior property assessor. I've evaluated over 12,000 properties and testified in hundreds of property disputes. I know property law, and I know fraud when I see it. Detective Patterson's attitude shifted immediately from routine complaint processing to serious criminal investigation. You're telling me the complainant is presenting fake evidence to a former county property assessor? Marcus explained his analysis with scientific detail. Karen's documents contained anachronistic survey marks, impossible recording numbers, and signatures from deceased officials. She's not just harassing neighbors. Detective, she's committing federal crimes by using forged documents in official complaints to government agencies. The mail fraud charges alone could bring 5 years federal prison time, Patterson noted grimly. But if she's done this multiple times across jurisdictions, we're looking at racketeering territory. Marcus provided his complete analysis: false property deeds, forged survey documents, fabricated easement claims, and fake HOA authorizations. Each forgery was designed to either claim ownership of neighbors' property or force expensive legal compliance with non-existent regulations. The sophistication suggested Karen had been perfecting her methods for years. Detective Patterson's investigation revealed Karen's scheme extended far beyond Maple Grove Circle. She'd targeted affluent suburban neighborhoods across 3 counties, focusing specifically on recent property improvements like pools, decks, and additions that represented significant financial investments. Her method was consistent and calculated. Research recent construction permits through public records, identify expensive projects, then create forged documents claiming violations or property disputes. Most homeowners paid legal fees or modification costs rather than challenge her evidence because the documents appeared authentic to untrained eyes. She's stolen approximately $120,000 from homeowners over 3 years. Patterson explained during their coordination meeting. Your case is the first where the target had professional expertise to recognize the fraud immediately. The investigation revealed Karen's motivation. She'd lost her real estate license due to ethics violations 5 years earlier, and developed this scheme to generate income while satisfying her psychological need to control property transactions and terrorize successful neighbors. Marcus worked with Detective Patterson to organize evidence systematically. His property assessment experience translated perfectly to criminal investigation methods. They documented not just the forged documents, but Karen's communication patterns, the timing of her complaints, and the financial impact on victims across multiple counties. We need her to commit the fraud in real time. Patterson explained. Let her file more false complaints. Each one strengthens the federal case and demonstrates ongoing criminal intent. Marcus agreed to let Karen continue her complaints, while Patterson's team monitored her activities. Unknown to Karen, every forged document she submitted was being authenticated by the FBI's Document Analysis Unit, building an unshakable case that would destroy her criminal enterprise forever. The trap was set for Karen's final, fatal mistake. Emboldened by what she perceived as Marcus's compliance, Karen expanded her documentation of violations with the confidence of someone who believed herself untouchable. She submitted additional complaints claiming his pool equipment violated noise ordinances, the deck exceeded height restrictions, and the landscaping blocked sightlines for emergency vehicles. Each complaint included increasingly sophisticated forged supporting documents that demonstrated her growing expertise in deception. The newest fabrications included fake noise level measurements from certified acoustical engineers, fabricated building code violations from county inspectors, and counterfeit correspondence from city planning departments. Karen's attention to detail was impressive. In for cases, she'd learned to match official letterheads, use proper government language, and create convincing technical specifications that would fool anyone without specialized knowledge. Karen's confidence grew with each successful submission. At the monthly HOA meeting, she presented herself as the neighborhood's protector against rogue construction that threatens everyone's property values and community safety. I've documented 17 separate violations of county building codes, HOA covenants, and municipal ordinances, she announced to the gathered homeowners with theatrical authority. The evidence is overwhelming and professionally verified by multiple agencies. She distributed copies of her latest evidence, a forged county inspector's report claiming Marcus's pool deck violated setback requirements by 3 feet and created structural liability for adjacent properties that could result in insurance claims exceeding $50,000. Several neighbors began expressing genuine concern about their own property values. Exactly as Karen intended. Mrs. Rodriguez voiced what others were thinking. If one homeowner can ignore regulations without consequences, it creates precedent for more violations throughout our community. Precisely, Karen agreed, her voice carrying practiced sincerity. Property standards protect everyone's investment. We cannot allow selective enforcement of community rules. Unknown to Karen, Detective Patterson had coordinated with federal postal inspectors, the county district attorney's office, and the state real estate licensing board. Each of Karen's complaints was being routed directly to investigators rather than standard processing channels. The multi-agency task force was building a comprehensive case that would ensure maximum penalties. Marcus received official notices of investigation from multiple agencies, all triggered by Karen's forged evidence. The psychological pressure was intense, even knowing the complaints were fraudulent. The official government attention created real stress and anxiety. Legal notices arrived daily, each requiring responses and documentation that consumed hours of his time. She's exceptionally good at this, Patterson admitted during one of their coordination meetings at the police station, these documents would fool most county employees and virtually all homeowners if you didn't have professional expertise. You'd probably pay to make this nightmare go away. The investigation team had identified 11 other victims across 3 counties who'd paid modification costs, legal fees, or settlement amounts based on Karen's forged documentation. Total financial losses exceeded $120,000. But the emotional toll on families was immeasurable. Karen had disrupted lives, damaged relationships, and created lasting trauma for her victims. As Karen's campaign intensified, neighborhood dynamics shifted like tectonic plates. Some neighbors supported her claims about property values, while others questioned the unprecedented level of documentation for what seemed like a simple pool dispute. The community was fracturing along lines of trust and suspicion. Nancy Chen and Bob Hendricks subtly educated neighbors about property rights and documentation authenticity, preparing the community for Karen's eventual exposure without revealing the ongoing investigation. Their careful work planted seeds of doubt about Karen's excessive paperwork and claims of expertise. Something doesn't add up. Neighbor misses. Rodriguez confided to Marcus during a chance encounter at the mailbox. I've lived here 12 years and never seen this many official documents for a single property issue. Karen seems to have evidence for everything, but she's not a surveyor or inspector. Where does she get all this documentation? The mounting paperwork Karen generated, dozens of forged documents supporting increasingly complex claims, and began to seem excessive even to her initial supporters. Her explanations for having access to so many official reports raised questions she couldn't answer without exposing her criminal methods. Detective Patterson's team prepared to spring their carefully orchestrated trap. They documented Karen's fraud pattern across multiple jurisdictions, identified numerous victims, and compiled evidence of federal mail fraud, Wire Fraud, and potentially racketeering charges that would put her away for years. We need one more clearly documented incident, Patterson explained to Marcus during their final coordination meeting. Something that shows premeditation and sophisticated criminal intent in front of witnesses. Marcus agreed to provide that opportunity. At the next HOA meeting, he would publicly challenge Karen's evidence, knowing she would respond by submitting her most elaborate forged documents, yet the confrontation would force her to double down on her criminal behavior in front of the entire community. She can't resist proving she's right. Marcus observed with psychological insight. Her ego and need for control will make her escalate with even more fake evidence. She'll dig her own grave. The trap was perfectly set for Karen's final singeon. Catastrophic mistake. The emergency HOA meeting Karen called for Tuesday evening became the stage for her spectacular downfall. She'd prepared what she called her comprehensive case file, 47 pages of forged documents proving Marcus's pool violated 12 different regulations. The community center buzzed with tension as neighbors filled every seat. I have definitive evidence, Karen announced to the packed room, her voice carrying absolute authority, that this pool construction violates county building codes, federal environmental regulations, and HOA covenants. The violation must be corrected immediately, or we risk collective liability. Marcus stood up slowly, his 15 years of professional experience evident in his calm, measured demeanor. The room fell silent as he prepared to speak. Karen, I'd like to examine these documents with the expertise I haven't mentioned before. Karen's confident expression flickered momentarily, but she maintained her composure. Of course. Marcus, the evidence speaks for itself. The room fell completely silent as Marcus introduced himself properly for the first time. I'm a licensed real estate appraiser and former senior property assessor for this county. I've evaluated over 12,000 properties and testified in hundreds of property disputes. I know property law inside and out, and I know fraud when I see it. Karen's face went pale, but she attempted to maintain her authority. That's irrelevant to the documented violations. These documents you've been presenting are forgeries. Marcus interrupted, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Professional forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. He methodically dismantled her evidence in front of the entire neighborhood, each revelation striking like a hammer blow. This survey stamp belongs to a surveyor who died in 2019. This recording number doesn't exist in county records. This inspector's signature belongs to someone who never worked for the county. This acoustical report references equipment that wasn't invented until 2018 for a survey allegedly conducted in 2017. Karen's attempts to defend her evidence crumbled under Marcus's technical expertise. You're mistaken. These are official government documents. No. Karen, these are federal crimes. As if orchestrated by destiny. Detective Patterson entered the community center with 2 federal agents and a search warrant for Karen's residence. The timing was perfect. The moment electric with justice. Karen Whitfield. You're under arrest for federal mail fraud, Wire Fraud, and conspiracy to commit property fraud, Patterson announced, his voice carrying the weight of law enforcement authority. The room erupted in gasps and shocked murmurs as neighbors realized they'd witnessed a 3-year criminal scheme unfold in their community. Karen's face transformed from arrogance to pure terror as agents presented evidence of her forged document operation discovered during their search. We've been investigating Mrs. Whitfield's activities for 6 months. Patterson explained to the stunned HOA members. She's defrauded homeowners across 3 counties using sophisticated document forgery. Your neighbor, Mr. Steele's professional expertise helped us build this case. Karen's desperate attempts to claim innocence crumbled as agents revealed the computer equipment, professional printer, and document templates found in her home office. Her operation was sophisticated, software for creating fake official seals, blank government forms purchased illegally, and files containing personal information on dozens of potential victims. This isn't what it looks like, Karen pleaded as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. I was protecting property values. You were stealing from your neighbors, Patterson replied coldly. The evidence is overwhelming. As Karen was led away in handcuffs, the complete scope of her fraud became crystal clear to the community. Marcus presented the authentic property records, proving his pool was completely legal and properly permitted, validated by multiple professional surveys. Every document Karen presented over the past 3 months was forged. Marcus explained to his neighbors, she targeted my pool because it represented a significant property investment she could exploit for money and psychological satisfaction. Neighbors who'd supported Karen's complaints felt betrayed and embarrassed by their participation in her scheme. Mrs. Rodriguez apologized directly. Marcus. We trusted her expertise and official-looking documents. We should have questioned why one property needed so much documentation. Nancy Chen revealed publicly how Karen had cost her family $8,000 with fake easement claims that destroyed their garden project. Bob Hendricks confirmed that his surveyor expertise had identified forgeries months earlier, but he'd kept quiet to avoid seeming paranoid. Karen exploited our community's trust and our lack of technical expertise, Marcus concluded. She counted on intimidating homeowners with official-looking paperwork and government agency complaints. Property fraud schemes specifically target people who don't know how to challenge fraudulent documents. Detective Patterson commended Marcus's cooperation before the assembled community. Your professional expertise and willingness to work with law enforcement prevented Karen from victimizing more families. This case will send a strong message about property fraud consequences throughout the region. Federal charges against Karen Whitfield resulted in an 18-month prison sentence. Restitution payments totaling $147,000 and permanent prohibition from any HOA service. The judge noted the sophistication of her fraud scheme and its deliberate targeting of homeowners lacking expertise to challenge forged documents. Mrs. Whitfield exploited her position as HOA president to intimidate neighbors with fake authority. Judge Martinez stated during sentencing, Property fraud undermines the foundation of homeownership security and community trust. This sentence reflects the serious nature of these crimes. Karen lost her Maple Grove Circle home to pay restitution to victims. Her conviction appeared in local media as a warning about HOA abuse and property fraud schemes targeting suburban communities. The Real Estate Licensing Board permanently banned her from any property-related professional activities. Federal investigators discovered Karen had been planning to expand her operation to high-value neighborhoods in neighboring states. Computer forensics revealed target lists of recent construction permits and homeowner profiles she'd researched for potential fraud victims, indicating her criminal enterprise was far from finished. Detective Patterson used Karen's case to train other property fraud investigators throughout the region. Professional document forgery targeting affluent suburban neighborhoods is increasing. Homeowners need education about authentic property records and their rights when confronted with suspicious claims. The Maple Grove Circle HOA underwent significant governance reforms following Karen's arrest. New policies required board members to disclose any property-related expertise claims and mandated external verification of all official documents before enforcement actions could proceed. Marcus was invited to serve on the reformed HOA board, bringing his professional property expertise to legitimate community governance. He established educational workshops teaching homeowners to recognize authentic property documents and understand their legal rights during disputes. Community associations work best when members understand property law basics. Marcus explained at the first post-Karen board meeting. Education prevents fraud and protects everyone's investments while maintaining appropriate standards. Nancy Chen and Bob Hendricks joined Marcus in creating a neighborhood watch program specifically focused on property fraud prevention. Their combined experience with Karen's tactics helped them identify warning signs of document forgery and inappropriate authority claims. Marcus's pool became a symbol of successful resistance to neighborhood bullying and fraud. His daughters Emma and Sophie understood that their father had protected their weekend sanctuary through professional expertise and principled action rather than aggression or retaliation. Daddy showed that bullies only win when good people don't fight back with the right tools. Emma told her mother during a custody visit. The successful defense of their pool and exposure of Karen's crimes strengthened Marcus's credibility as a stable, capable parent and protector. His appraisal business gained clients who appreciated his willingness to confront property fraud professionally and ethically. Word spread that Marcus Steele knows how to handle property disputes the right way, explained colleague Jennifer Mills. His reputation for integrity and expertise brought in significant new business. The pool that Karen claimed would lower property values actually enhanced the neighborhood's reputation. We live on the street where that fraud was exposed. It became a point of pride for residents discussing their community's integrity and vigilance. Karen's downfall illustrates crucial lessons about standing up to neighborhood bullies who weaponize authority and fake expertise. Property fraud schemes target homeowners' lack of technical knowledge about legal documents and government procedures. But education and professional consultation can protect anyone. Never accept official-looking documents without verification. Marcus emphasized, real property professionals welcome questions about their evidence. Fraudsters get defensive and aggressive when challenged because they know their materials won't survive scrutiny. The importance of professional expertise in property disputes cannot be overstated. Marcus's background as a property assessor gave him tools most homeowners lack. But basic education about property rights and document authenticity can protect anyone from similar fraud schemes. Community strength emerges when neighbors support victims of bullying rather than enabling aggressive behavior. Karen's scheme succeeded for years because community members accepted her claims without verification, demonstrating how fraud thrives in environments of misplaced trust. American property law protects homeowners from exactly this type of fraud and sophisticated criminal schemes, targeting affluent suburban communities nationwide through organized deception and document manipulation and psychological intimidation tactics. But only when victims know their rights and seek appropriate help from qualified professionals and law enforcement agencies. Have you dealt with suspicious HOA enforcement or property disputes that seem too complex? Share your stories below. Some of these neighborhood battles reveal serious fraud patterns that need exposure. What would you do if faced with dozens of official-looking documents claiming violations on your property? The comments always reveal amazing insights about standing up to community bullies while protecting your investment. Speaking of fake authority figures, you won't believe what happened when a property manager tried to evict a tenant who turned out to be a housing rights attorney. That landlord's illegal practices cost him everything. Subscribe for more stories of justice served professionally.